SpongeBob SquarePants featuring the Nicktoons, Globs of Doom. Snap Judgment Review. The reason this is a Snap Judgment Review is that I was playing the game with the little reviewer, and we had about 2 hours into the game when we came back to play it, only to find this. Your save file is corrupt. Ugh! This has never happened to me before, and I wasn't about to replay the last 2 hours of the game again. So I'm going to give you my impression of the game from what I've played, and I'm just going to assume this is a one-time glitch, and not judge the game harshly on it. This game pits a bunch of the Nicktoon characters together to help save their world from a glob-filled meteorite that, when attached to most of the characters' heads, will turn them into glob-controlled zombies. The cast list has heroes and villains in it, with of course SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Tuck, Plankton, Invader Zim, and the red-headed stepchild of the group, Danny Phantom. Now I'm about to go a little bit into a rant on Nickelodeon here, since I personally love the show Danny Phantom. The story reminded me of the storytelling of another great ghost show called The Real Ghostbusters. And yes, I do own the Time Life DVD set. You have no idea how refreshing it is to find a show on Nickelodeon that I don't mind watching with my kids. After having to watch Blue's Clues for an hour at a time, it was a welcome change. Anyways, it frustrates me that Nickelodeon completely treated the show like crap. When it actually did show an episode, it was usually at 6 in the morning on a Saturday when no kids were up. Also, they would barely promote the show at all. In fact, I didn't even know that they showed the series finale until I saw the news on TV.com, and I had to watch it on a website since Nickelodeon has never replayed it to my knowledge. So it surprises me that they would put his character in any video game, since they obviously hate the show. But he's in the majority, if not all, these Nicktoon games. What kind of a mixed message is that? They know there's a fan base for this character and show, but we don't care enough to make new episodes. Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. Back to the game. The whole story is played out through cutscenes which were voice acted by the original cast, which is always a positive. The cutscenes were okay, but at times they were confusing, since they don't bother explaining on how any of these characters know each other. The game kind of just starts with the assumption that you've already played the other games in the series, since they completely gloss over some of the story problems in this game, like how Jimmy Neutron was underwater and somehow breathing. But like I said before, I guess it's explained in a previous game. At least I hope it is. You get to the good guy's base, and you're quickly given a tailor-made weapon for the character you're using. And then they send 2 certain characters of these individual worlds to get rid of the globs. The game can be played as a single-player game or as a cooperative 2-player. When you first start out a level, you have to travel to it. You have to maneuver your character through a short track. But since you have unlimited lives, the only downside of not caring how you move is that you will lose coins. This game has a lot of fighting in it, since you have to battle a lot of the alien globs that are in your way to your final goal. But since the aliens were usually easy to kill, it was somewhat fun, if not repetitive. You fight the other aliens so you can power up your special weapons and attacks. To do some of your special attacks, you'll sometimes have to move your Wiimote in a certain direction. It would change every time, but they were still just basic movements, and nothing too complicated. You can also collect coins in the worlds that are spent on attribute upgrades to your overall characters. The levels themselves were really long. They really didn't have to be, but in order to get your characters from point A to point B, you would have to take a bunch of detours due to all the blocked areas. Usually to get to your destination, you had to go all around the world. It was just a lazy way of making a level. Instead of making a level design that might matter, they make you twist and turn around the world. There are 3 parts to each of the worlds you visit, 2 levels that you had to play out, and a boss fight. The boss fights were fun, and it was usually challenging to figure out the secret of beating it. The worst part of this game is the camera. Oh my goodness, it was awful. It was especially bad if you're playing the 2-player cooperative. It would go crazy and pick angles where you couldn't see anything. As you're going through the levels, you might find a secret item that, if you collect them all, will tell you a password for a cheat in the game. Or you could just save yourself the hassle and spend 2 minutes looking it up on the internet. Most likely you'll do the latter. SpongeBob SquarePants featuring the Nicktoons Globs of Doom isn't a bad game, just an okay one. Young kids should really enjoy this game as long as they're not expecting too much, so I think this game is worth a rent.